Hello there and welcome back to the channel. On this week's episode we look at a budget radio from the up and coming company Quansheng. This one is the UV-50. It's basically based on the UV-5R but with some slight differences and some slight quirks, so keep watching to find out what I mean by that. It's I picked this up for about £23 off of AliExpress, so it is very much a budget radio, and it shares all the similar features to the 5R range in its size, weight and its power output. The thing that drew my attention to this radio was the actual colour scheme. It was a mixture of colours I hadn't seen before, even on the 5R series of radios, and I quite like that mix of black and grey. Now I know this radio in various forms has been out, well, probably for about 12 months now, and there was an earlier version of it, but this is the latest iteration of the radio as far as I am aware. And you'll see right down to the actual volume control knob that it shares a lot of similarities with the UV-5R, including the side there headset earphone connector. Claims to output 5 watts on UHF and VHF, and you can see the frequency range there as well, 2 meters and 70 sems. For a budget radio, it's very well made, I have to say. It looks fairly well sealed and ruggedized against the elements, and the battery capacity there listed as 3.2 ampere hour. Again, I never test these. This was slightly unusual, and there was a recess in the actual battery for the belt clip, which just sits in the recess there, and a couple of screws hold that in. Not everyone uses belt clips, I must say I do, so it's something I like to see that's nice and secure and well made. On this particular radio, they list it as having a USB charging capability. Now there must be a lead that you can buy, as you can see on this advert here, that plugs into USB, so you can charge it from the back plate. One would have thought they would have put an actual micro USB connector in there, though. That would have made a lot more sense rather than a DC jack. I see that could be abused. Anyway, next to the UV-5X, you can see that they are very, very similar in form factor and size. The weights are very similar. I should have actually used the 5X with that also has this USB charging capability as well. I missed a trick there. Anyway, turning the radio on, you'll see that the menu is very, very similar to the 5R, and it even has the interchangeable colours for the display, which I actually quite like. Although that's a feature that's been around for quite a while now on the UV-5R Plus and onwards. So there was a couple of extra features on the menu that I hadn't seen before, but there are a few extra quirks and manufacturing defects. Like this, the screen was slightly offset to the right, which was a little bit annoying. The charger come with the usual death adapter and probably fairly poorly made power supply. Now I always use an FTDI programming cable. I was going to mention this because people have problems with the prolific drivers. If you do, I recommend you getting a proper FTDI cable. It makes programming the radios really easy. Now I'm going to say that with a caveat because we had some fun and games. Anyway, on to the power test. First off, we tried it on VHF, and it put out fairly reasonable, and to the sticker 5 watts, so that's accurate. Again, Quansheng seem to be living up to this with their reputations holding pretty good with regards to power, unlike a lot of the manufacturers. So again, on UHF, just over 5 watts, which is exactly what it says it will do. So I have to say I was impressed with that. And just for a little bit of fun, I got the FLIR out and decided to key up the radio for an extended period and just see what kind of thermal characteristics were nipping around the unit. This is all only mildly warm to the touch. The FLIR can make it look like these are red hot, but they were just slightly warmer than the ambient, and I just find it fascinating. It's not very scientific, but I think it looks good on the video. It's just for fun, really. Anyway, very pleased with the power output of this radio. Again, a budget radio, £23 delivered to the UK, and I think that's quite respectable, but it's really on the ballpark with a 5R, isn't it? So, but I'd have to say this is at least as well made as a 5R, but not as easy to program, unfortunately, as we'll find out a little bit later on in the video if you keep watching. I attached the belt clip to this radio because I was going to take it out on the field to do a bit of testing, and it seems very well made and secure. I like a decent belt clip, and there's some nice close-up images of the radio for you there, and that seals really well the cover on the microphone port. You have the same you have the radio feature on the side of this radio, and I'll pop that on so you can have a listen. Right, I've got the SDR all set up ready to record. There we go. And then we'll pop out to site and get these radios tested. Just stuck them in a little plastic box, stop them rattling about. Leave the 3D printer going there, whirring away. And we'll go out and have a see if we can get how far we can get on site with it. It's just took me ages to get this sorted out today because the weather's been absolutely appalling, so I'm making the most of it. While we're still able to get out, really. You know, lock the whole place down. So let's get out into the car and get to site. Right, and as if by magic, I'm here with the Quansheng UV-50R. I do really like the colour scheme on this radio. It was what attracted me to it. I hadn't seen anything in this sort of colour before. And it is different to the UV-50R. I mean, the menu is very similar, obviously, but the actual functional side of it is a little bit different. So, you know, and it's a budget radio, really cheap. I think I picked this up for 23 quid. So, anyway, yeah, let's give this a go. It's going really dark. It's going to be dark in about an hour's time, so I've got to really press on and try and get this sorted out. So, let's give it a test, and we're going to test it against the 5R Plus. So I mean a very, you know, a very basic standard radio this, so a good comparison, a good benchmark, so because many of you have got these, so we'll see how the two compare. This is G7LNK portable with the Quansheng at location A, UHF Test, approximately 3 miles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Right. G7LNK portable to Quansheng location at UHF Test, approximately miles, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 4, 2, 1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Really struggling with that today, with the recording remotely. Normally I used to use TeamViewer, but I use AnyDesk, and it's really struggling through the CellNet system, for the cellular network phone system. I don't know why. I can't control it. It's almost uncontrollable. And trying to get Debbie to help me remotely is really hard work. So there's something not quite gelling right with the SDR back home. I don't know what. We're going to go out to the location B anyway. It's getting dark, but I'm not going to worry too much if it goes dark, to be honest. I'm not going to go too mad, but yeah, not great, I don't think, this little Quansheng. First, I think power wise, even though it's dicking out the power, it's not really cutting through today. I don't know why. It might be the antenna, I'm not sure. We'll go to the other location, we'll give it another try anyway, but I'm not holding out too much hope for it at the minute. Right, sun is dropping really quickly, so we're going to try the Quansheng again. I'm trying to remotely start the SDR, but it's playing up. I have this problem from time to time, so we're going to see if it works anyway, and see if we can get some kind of comparison between these two radios. So let's give it a try before I get plunged into darkness. And it's a real busy road here as well. The cars, they just fly up here, 60-70 mile an hour, wind, rain, snow, it doesn't matter. And yeah, it's not great being sat by the side of the road at this location. Maybe I'll have to come up with a different location that's somewhere a bit further up, maybe, and off the beaten track. So anyway, let's try this radio out. Right, we're here with the Quansheng G7LNK portable testing. Always defaults back to VHF on there. This is G7LNK portable, G7LNK portable at location B, approximately 7 miles, with the Quansheng UHF testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
This is G7LNK portable for 7 miles with the Quansheng UHF 3, 2, 1. Brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Right, with the UV-50R Plus for comparison. This is G7LNK portable with the UV-50R Plus at location B, approximately 6 to 7 miles. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
G7LNK B, approximately 7 miles. Over the lazy dog.
Just before I wrap up about this radio, this is a slightly annoying trait I see here. When you're on the normal VFO and you turn it on, it defaults to the top VFO. So even if you change it manually yourself, A to B, right? When you turn it off, you turn it back on, it goes back up to the that's really annoying. That caught me out when I was just doing the testing just here. Let's just show you by comparison. This UV-50R Plus, it's already come on the right one, see? Switch in A to B. We turn it off, put it on A, turn it off, turn it back on. It's on. Change it to B. Turn it off. Turn it back on. It's there, you see? That's poor. I don't know if there's anything you can change in the software or the menus to stop it doing that, and there might be, so I haven't really looked in detail, but yeah, I'm going to mark it down for that one. Right, well, I've got to say, after my successful test of the UV2 Plus on the last video, the really powerful handheld, this really isn't cutting the mustard for me. Unfortunately, it looks the part. I really like the way it looks, and it feels nice in the hand, and it's, you know, it's got a nice sort of you know, fairly, for a cheap radio, it's got a really good feel. But there's a few annoying things about it. That menu that I've just shown you, that's one. The other is the programming software. It doesn't work with chirp at all, and considering really it's based off of UV-50R, they've done something in it which prevents you using chirp. You have to use their own software, and on their website the software had malware on it. I could not find a version anywhere that wasn't flagging as being malware. So that was a real downer for me. I contacted the company, and they, you know, I said, look, you do realize there's malware on it? And they said, no, there shouldn't be. And also, you need a password for the software. What on earth is that about? Why should you need a password for programming software? Nobody other than someone that's bought this radio is going to program it. It's absolutely insane. I suppose you could argue somebody that was using it, a personnel, might be able to program it. I suppose there's that. But, you know, yeah, what are the odds? It's just like ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, as much as I do like, I like the look of it, and I think for the money, for 20 odd pounds, it's really, really good. But those couple of issues, the programming is a deal breaker. That's not working with chirp. Yeah, for a budget radio like this, that's based off of the same chipset as the ubiquitous UV-50R, that's not really good enough in my book. You know, whether they've done that purposely, I don't know. So yeah, I would spend your money elsewhere. But, you know, they can't all be brilliant, can they? I mean, I often get accused of that. Every radio I test is great. Well, they are normally, you know, for the money, they're normally great. But this one, yeah, not so great, Quansheng. Must do better next time. Right, with that, I'm going to go. It's getting, the sun is about to drop. And this is, for all of you that are familiar with my my videos from this location, I hit a deer about a year ago on this road. So I don't want to repeat that. Luckily, there's no hunt about today. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go. The next few tests coming up are going to be on the CBs, hopefully. We want the weather to be good for that. We want to make sure the conditions are clear and it's safe for us to be driving around as well, because we're going to be doing mobile tests and whatnot, so, and swapping antennas. So we need to make sure we're good. Right,
I'm going. Stay safe. Considering what's going on worldwide at the minute, we all need to think about that. Look after your loved ones, and you know, I think, you know, who knows, these things might come in useful, mightn't they? You never know. I've got enough of them. I think I'll be all right. Anyway, you take care. We'll catch you on the next one. This is G7LNK signing off and clear. Cheers.